Welcome back, everybody, to Rob's MetalWorks. We are embarking on quite a special afternoon. Fiesta 2017 is here in San Antonio, and it brings me great pleasure to welcome songwriter, vocal legend, master guitarist, the man, Mr. Rik Emmett, is finally here on Rob's MetalWorks. Sir, it is my distinct honor to have you on our show.
Thank you very much. I like the fact that it's named after the studio that we had in Canada.
Nice. Rik, it's good to see you, man. You look in good spirits. And I think a perfect place to start with you, obviously, is your relationship with this city. There are so many fans of Rik Emmett and Triumph that go way back in San Antonio. And you've kind of made it part of your repertoire to continue to come back and meet those fans and play music for them. Talk a little bit about your history with San Antonio and maybe some of the prominent figures who kind of helped break Triumph back in the early days. And we were shortly discussing, obviously, Joe Anthony of 99.5 Kiss as being one of those people.
Yes, yeah. And we're going back to, I think, 1978 for that. But, there was only two cities that we ever got the key to the city. And one of them was San Antonio, and the other one was Buffalo, New York. But, San Antonio. So, and it started because Joe Anthony and Lou Roney, Kiss, I think, was the call letters. And they would play on the midnight show. They would play the song Blinding Light Show. And it became like this cult kind of thing. And he would always play it around midnight, and that was definitely all Joe. And so then Sammy Hagar was booked to play a show at the Municipal Auditorium, and he couldn't make it. And, for some reason he was going to get more money to be someplace else, or who knows, But he was going to have to cancel the show. But it was one of those things where it was tied to the radio station. And so they kind of said, hey, Triumph, if you come down, we can plug you in. You can headline the Runaways are going to open for you. It'll be a great show. And so we did it. We flew down. We brought down all our gear, like the flash pots and the lasers and all that stuff. And it was the middle of winter. And I've got a long coat and a fox fur collar. And it was like 90 degrees. So, we were rookies. We were young.
This is winter in San Antonio.
But Joe was a sweet guy, and he definitely was the guy that kind of helped us. He was in bed with a guy named Joe Miller that ran something called Jam Productions. I don't know if it's still around or if Joe Miller's even alive, but Joe's no longer with us. Anthony, but. Him and Miller, they kind of had this thing, I was the radio station to run a show for 99 cents, and now we're going to come back and play 4 or 5 shows for Miller Productions, and so.
It's a great thing because, a lot of these pieces of magic that happened on the back and really were at the benefit of all the fans in San Antonio, really, who just came to, become enamored with you and the band. It's a great thing for fans to see you still out there doing music. And I think there's still some people out there who are still coming to know that you have a new band. You're leading a new band called Resolution 9. Talk a little bit about the formation of this band, because obviously, Rik Emmett can do a solo thing. Why do a band at this point in your tenure?
Well, first of all, the guys that play in my band, Dave Dunlop on guitar, Steve Skingley on bass, and Paul DeLong on drums. Dave and Steve have been with me for a long time, touring and playing shows and stuff. But the thing that happened was Mascot Records in Europe sort of came along and said, hey, we'd like to give you a nice big pile of dough to make a really good record, like a rock record. We definitely want a rock record. And we'd like you to have guests on it. If you can get some of those other Canadian people to play on it, it'd be amazing. So I didn't want to have to just produce it on my own. I really wanted Dave and Steve to have an equal kind of say in the producing of the record. So then it was kind of like, okay, it's going to become a band thing, because then we did it old school. I went back to the MetalWorks studio. We did live off the floor stuff for about a week. Then we cut the beds, and it all happened pretty quick. Made the record in about 3 months and delivered it. Yeah. It was fast for modern day stuff, even with all of the Pro Tools that people, use and stuff. Anyways, so that's the story of it. And then I said to Mascot, it can't just be a Rik Emmett record. Like, the band should have a name, and it should be a band thing, because it's really a band kind of project. The drums are as important as the guitar solos. Yes, I wrote everything and I sing everything, and they're my lyrics and stuff, but the band helped me put all the arrangements together, and I really wanted it to have that kind of organic band thing, as opposed to singer-songwriter gets a band to play his stuff.
You know, this record, for some of you people out there who do not yet know it, is called Res 9. Be sure to look for it. And as Rick mentioned, it's on the Mascot label group. You know, it's really a great mixture musically, a great reflection of a lot of the things that maybe you're doing with your guitar now. You're doing some bluesy stuff on there. You're doing some ballads in there. Definitely is some rock in there. So musically, I mean, is that kind of what we're seeing now? You know, instead of just saying I'm going to make a rock record, you're like, this is really the holistic view of Rik Emmett at this point.
Well, I think you get to the age of 63 and you start to sort of say to yourself, well, there's certain things I'm going to do, and I'm going to, you know, as Tom Petty put it so well, damn the torpedoes, you know, like, who cares? Like, what are they going to do? You know, say, well, we're not going to make another record with you. I go, well, okay. You know, I don't really care, you know. But I think you reach a certain age and stage, and then you have songs that matter to you because of what the lyric is doing, or songs that matter to you because of the feel of it, or the concept of, hey, you know, what would it be like if Jimi Hendrix had ever sat in with the band? You know, like, that would have been kind of cool. I think I'll try and write a song that sort of works like that. But I'll write it about how much religion has screwed up the world. You know, so, but these are the things you do when you're an older guy, right? You're not writing songs about, hey, chicks, hey, booze, you know, party, you know, like, you're past all that stuff. Now, the other thing is, Mascot is a very blues-oriented label. Joe Bonamassa, Robert Cray, Eric Johnson, you know, speaking of Texas guitar players that are amazingly great. So yeah, there's a lot of American style, sort of rhythm and blues kind of things on that label. So I thought, well, I'd like to try and hit them in their sweet spot. So there's some stuff on the record where, you know, I was kind of going for that. But the other thing is, and this is, you know, speaking to my age again, like the records that really mattered to me when I was a teenager, I kind of went, well, I'd love to do stuff where I'm trying to mine that whole thing of Jimmy Page starting Led Zeppelin and Jeff Beck doing the Truth album, and maybe, you know, Eric Clapton, you know, just doing what Eric Clapton does, you know. So there's a lot of that influence on the record where you can sort of hear that, oh, this is where Rick came from, you know. So that's that blues thing. I mean, all those three guys that I just mentioned, yeah, they're rock players, you know, and they went on to other kinds of, you know, Clapton probably had the most pop success, but I mean, he's a blues guitar player, you know. And Jeff Beck, yeah, fusion, but he's a kind of a blues guitar player, you know. And Jimmy Page, yeah, Led Zeppelin was all about, you know, I don't know, Robert Plant, and it got a little sexier than blues, but it was pretty much blues and folk, and yeah. So that's it on that album too.
I think one of the most kind of intriguing elements of the record, and I think people might have been pleasantly surprised, is that you had fellow Canadian guitarist Alex Lifson of Rush play on a couple of songs. Talk a little bit about your relationship with Alex. How did you get him on board? And, you know, I think people, you know, maybe who do not know might think, oh, you know, the two big Canadian rock bands, and, you know, early on in the career, was there ever kind of any friendly competition going on? And if so, how did that kind of fall by the wayside? Obviously, because, you know, we're older people now, so, you know, and now he's playing on your record.
Yeah, I don't think there was any. When you say friendly competition, you're actually meaning unfriendly, like a rivalry. And there never really was any of that, because they were always, you know, a good mile and a half ahead of us, you know, like, their career was huge, and their coattails, I've said this many times, their coattails were huge, and they made, like, we would not have had the success here in San Antonio if Rush hadn't already kind of teed it up for us to become, a three-piece band from Canada with a guy that sings high. Oh, you know, like, the door was open, and Joe Anthony goes, yeah, the door's open, come on in, you know. So we owed them a lot, and my relationship with Alex goes right back to about 1976, where there was a place in Toronto it was called the Gasworks. It was a bar on Yonge Street, and it became famous when the Wayne's World movie. They went to this bar, and he was Mike Myers was, you know, tapping that club, which was a small little crap hole. It was not like they made it look in the movie, but just a narrow little corner bar. And anyways, Alex came one night, and we had a beer together and we talked, and he was interested in seeing the band, and he was a very complimentary, nice guy. He was always a very classy kind of guy, and intelligent, and there was never any kind of envy or I think Rush was always very calm and centered about who they were and what they were doing, and they were unique. There was no other band like them, Right. And here we are, however many years later, 30 years later, 40 years later, and there's never been a band like them, never, not another one from Canada, not another one from anywhere in the world, it was always good. And so over the years we'd do things. We once did a project for a guitar magazine where we made a flexi disc that went in the magazine. That was in the 80s. Yeah. And that was a lot of fun, being in the studio with Alex and doing that project. And we once jammed at a guitar workshop thing. He doesn't like necessarily having to do clinics and guitar workshops and that kind of stuff. He's much more about, like, Rush is my thing and this is who I am and I have a role in this band and I don't really do other stuff. But of course he does lots of other stuff. Anyhow, so we had a really cool Saturday where he sort of did a little thing in a classroom in the middle of the day, and then we went out for dinner. We rehearsed a little bit, and then we did a little gig at night, playing acoustics and jazz archtop, and it was fun. It was really good. It was, Now, I just want to address your question, because the whole idea of the friendly rivalry, of course that's going to exist in other people's minds, like, in the audience's mind, in people that listen to the radio and buy records and stuff. They're going to think, oh, two trios from Canada that play rock, they must hate each other, and we would never ever cross paths. Rush was not a band that played like those big outdoor shows where there would be 10 bands. Like, they never did them. We did. So we crossed paths with Night Ranger and Pat Travers and you name it, the Loverboy. We'd see those bands because we'd be on the bill with them. We did the US Festival, and there's like Judas Priest and Ozzy, and see, you meet the guys in the bands. Never met the guys in Rush. Never. I don't think I've met Neil once, and Geddy. Wow. Yeah, I'm sure Geddy and I have a lot in common, but really my friendship is with Alex. Yeah. And now, sorry, I'm going to jump ahead just because, you're going to edit this later anyways. The Dream Theater guy, whose name is escaping me right
James Labrie.
Thank you, James Labrie. See, his real name is actually Kevin. Did you know that? No. Yeah, his name's Kevin, but there was another guy in the band already when he joined who was called Kevin, and they went, we can't have two Kevins. So James is his middle name. So anyway, so he became James Labrie. Yeah, so that was the A&R man from the record company. He said, you got to get this guy, Dream Theater, I know them, I can make the call. He lives in Ontario. He lives, so he could drive to the studio and be in the thing. So that's how that one came about. Yeah. That was, May 16th of last year was one of the best days of my life ever. Alex Lifson in the morning, lunchtime with James Labrie and Alex, and then we do the photo shoot. And then afternoon, James Labrie singing on my songs. I go, doesn't get much better than this.
So many good songs on this record, too, like the one with Alex is the Human Race song. I love that song.
We're going to play that tonight.
Nice.
Yeah, you're going to have a camera there?
We will be there. Rest of My Life is my favorite song.
Oh, yeah?
My favorite song. I love that song.
Me going through therapy. Yeah?
We're going to talk about lyrics right now, too.
Yeah, okay, yes.
When You Were My Baby also is another one, and that's the more bluesy one. I like that one.
That's got a Atlanta rhythm section kind of stuff in it. That kind of greasy Georgia thing, yeah.
Lyrically, too, when I hear a lot of what you're saying in this record, especially like with a song like Cathedral, where you talk about maybe have some religious overtones and some of the, complexity of where your thoughts are with regards to religion and our own spirituality in life. Obviously, this is a pretty deep record for you, especially like you said, at your age, you think about your career and maybe things that have transpired over your lifetime. Share a little bit lyrically about what this record means for you. What is the journey of Rik Emmett, and what are you saying about your journey?
Well, first of all, I never thought I was gonna maybe make another full-blown rock album ever again, but I'm a songwriter, so I just never stopped writing. So I had all these songs that had accumulated over a long period of time, and then when the opportunity comes along, you kind of sit down with all your tunes. I did a thing where I Steve Skingley and I sat down and we recorded all these tunes that were like Springsteen's Nebraska, like it was all voice and guitar. And then Dave and Steve and I sat down and listened to them and decided, okay, what might work with a rock band kind of circumstance? So that's where a lot of the songs, maybe I'd written them 6 years before, or 4 years before, or I'd been rewriting them for 5 years. So some of them I wrote really quickly, like End of the Line. When I knew we were going to have Alex and James, I thought, man, we need a real like AC/DC riff rocking thing to end the record, like a big, everybody blows crazy solos and get Labrie to sing where his head explodes, So I wrote the tune just to have a song like that on the record. But the other stuff, a lot of it came from before. And Rest of My Life, that was a thing about thinking, okay, I got to a certain point and I was having issues with stress and anxiety in my life. And, I felt like I owed my wife and my family something that went beyond all of the stuff that I'd committed to my career, to music and playing guitar and worrying about ambition and all of that stuff. Like, forget all that. Like, what kind of a person do you want to be? That will be the values that you hold on to for the rest of your life. So that was very much a therapy kind of, you sit down, you talk to a psychotherapist, and they think, okay, I'm going to find out who you are and what you want to be. And, so that was very much something that grew out of that. Cathedral. Oh, you asked about that. My wife and I went on a boat cruise in Europe where you go on one of those boats on the river, and every day you can go see cathedrals and you can go see, castles and just unbelievable stuff that goes back to the 14th century, 15th century. And you realize, man, there's just been so much human energy devoted to God and to organized religion and the building of these incredible places, and how much money and gilded things and little angels that are painted on the ceilings, and you're going, my God, so much stuff. And then really it leads to wars, and it leads to people feeling so unhappy and feeling so guilty and so bad, and you kind of go, yeah, that's not for me. And so you ask yourself, so then, well, what is my cathedral? I go, well, my cathedral goes in a case. I take it out, I play it, and then it's floating in the air. Like, this music is the thing to me that's the thing that gets me the closest to God, the closest to spirituality is what music says to me and does for me. And so, that song practically wrote itself once I had the idea. And it came from a friend of mine. His wife divorced him. I'm not going to mention any names, because she's kind of found Jesus and was reborn in her religion. And so, like, she had 2 boys in the family. Kind of turned her back. Like, she was going to God. And you go, lady, there's people here. There's a whole life that's here. Maybe you should pay a little attention. But she was really thinking about the next life. And you go, well, okay, like, everybody to each their own. Yeah. But I'm going to worry about this one. This is the one that I can do something about. Yeah. So
you kind of feel now, I mean, obviously through some of the maybe the experiences and kind of discussions therapy-wise that you've had, are you kind of have found yourself in that new place now? Are you happy with where you're at now?
Yeah, I mean,
solace.
I don't think anybody that's human ever is 100% consistent in one place. I think we all float and change and have to deal with things, and we all have good days and bad days. And some of us have, I've had a lot of good days in my life, lots and lots of things that I am grateful for. I was blessed. I got 4 kids that grew up into amazing people. So lots and lots of things that are great. And some people, their lives haven't been so blessed and so great, but they still somehow seem to be able to be positive and, find a really great part of life. So, how good is it for a rock star in his 60s to be complaining about, oh, my life is terrible? Like, it's not, it's, right. Yeah, it just doesn't sit, So, I think that I'm in a better place than I was a couple of years back, certainly. And I think the making of the album was it was therapeutic for me for sure.
And on that note, obviously, I think the record prior to Res 9, the Marcos storybook, was in 2012. So it was a little 4-year period there. Do you think that we'll see another record from RIK Emmett in the future, or a record from Resolution 9 in the future?
I don't know. There's been some conversation with the record label. I don't know if they want to do another rock record like that again or not. I would hope that they would want to. They've got options that exist in the contract, but the music business is not the same as it used to be. And you're sitting here talking to me about records that your brother played in your house that turned you into a fan, and things we did in the 70s and the 80s. And I mean, it's 2017. It's a different world now. It's a digital one. Things happen fast and they change even faster. So. I don't really try to predict the future. If you ask me, am I interested in writing songs and making music and playing guitar, I will always do that. I will always do that. Whether I have record deals or not, I'll do it. And you mentioned Marcos. Marcos' Secret Songbook was a record. It was complete self-indulgence. I spent my own money. I got the guys to do it. It had spoken word on it. It had orchestral sections. It didn't sell anything. Nobody liked that record, except me. And it was the making of it that I liked,
But you got it out.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. You're currently doing a small string of shows. I know you're doing some choice shows all the way up until the fall. Obviously, is it safe to say that playing and performing live is still something that you thrive upon?
I don't know if I thrive upon it. I think B.B. King had it, he captured it best. He said, they don't pay me to play gigs. They pay me to travel. And I think that's it.
Because you're only playing guitar anyway.
Yeah, you go through, 22 and a half hours of crap so that you can sort of, have that 90 minutes on stage where you get to be outside yourself, and, that's a beautiful thing, right? So, yes, I like to perform, but I teach at a college level, and every Tuesday when I go in there in the afternoon, that's a performance in a way, So I can get my yayas out. I often enjoy sitting and playing my guitar for 5 people as much as I would, being in front of 5,000 or 15,000 or whatever. It's not the size of the crowd for me. It's the kind of whether or not that moment is happening, whether the connections are being made.
You ever show your kids your old videos, lay it on the line?
Oh, yeah. And they
let me show you when I used to play the double neck guitar.
Oh, my kids would go like, oh, Daddy, guitar, 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 And they're all grown. I have grandkids now,
Yeah.
And so they go, oh, they come down to my basement and they strum on all the guitars and they whack on things. Yeah.
Don't touch my guitar.
So it's, and of course, my students at the college, they'll come into class one day and they'll say oh my God, we went on YouTube and you used to have hair down there. I go, yeah. Wow. Shut up.
As we end out, Rick, we have to talk about Triumph, and, I'm not going to get, the history of Triumph is well documented. Just a few poignant questions. One is, when you think about the heyday of Triumph, you're playing big shows, stadiums, big production. What do you most fondly remember about that time?
Well, the one thing that I missed when I left the band and then, didn't talk to the guys for 20 years, I missed the brotherhood of it. That's the big thing. And I think, if a professional athlete has to hang it up, he'll always say, no, I miss the practices and I miss the dressing rooms and I miss the, going out to dinner with the guys and hanging in the hotels. I miss that. You don't miss, getting your knee broken, so the Triumph thing was, it happened on such a high level and it happened so quick. You look back on it and you realize, wow, all of that transpired in 13 years, and really the big part of it, you could sort of say it kind of went 78 to about 84, 85. That was the big, so it's really only about 6 or 7 years, really, and you go, wow, it wasn't a long time. When you're in it, you have no idea what it looks like from the outside. You're just riding that rocket, So, it was a fun thing, to share it with those other two, partners in crime. Let's call them partners in crime. Yeah, that was the best thing about it, and I still see them. We get together. We did Eddie Trunk's thing, a couple of weeks back, and spent like an hour with him, longer, 2 hours. It was nuts, but it was fun, And we tell old stories, and we get together every Christmas and have a dinner. And I made Res 9 was in Gil's studio, MetalWorks. Like, I'm not a partner anymore. It's his. He owns it. But I went back there and I did the album.
Well, we have to talk about, I think there's a bonus track on Res 9, the Grand Parade, and Gil and Mike played on that song. I've listened to that song a lot. Also, one of my favorite tracks, very kind of mellow track, and I connect to it lyrically. And when I hear what you're saying in that song, it makes me think the guys in Triumph are all good again.
Yes. Yeah,
it was mentioned that you.
Yeah, and when the record company said, "Do you think you can get the guys in Triumph?" I said, "I doubt it, but I'll see." And then I had this instrumental song that I thought, man, if I wrote the right lyric for it, and I turned it into a tune, it could be the way Suitcase Blues had functioned on the Just a Game album back in '79, which was kind of like this PS, moody, after midnight kind of song. And so I wrote the song. I originally was kind of thinking about us getting together and having Christmas dinner and hanging out at a restaurant and having a few too many, happy plops and, telling stories. But then I switched it over to New Year's because it was a little bit more, the metaphor was a little stronger, as a writer. So anyhow, that's what the tune's about, and I played it for them, and they said, "This is great. Yeah, we'd love to do it." So it was kind of really cool. It was like the circle came all the way back around. Yeah.
Maybe just to clarify, you said, I don't know if I'll be able to get these guys to do it, because those guys don't do music anymore, right?
No, Gil doesn't play drums at all. He had to literally rent a drum kit.
Wow.
Yeah, because he doesn't even, his were like in storage somewhere covered in dust. So yeah, he was the guy that really had to bone up. Mike was into it. Mike said, yeah, sure, no problem. Book me an afternoon, I'll come in.
Yeah.
But it was Gil that was the one that was like gonna have to try and sort of bend his arm a little and offer him things. Come on, Gil. There's a pass for a round of golf. He loves golf. Oh yeah, plays golf all the time. Yeah. Him and Tom Cochran. You know Tom Cochran? Canadian. Come on, life is a highway and I'm gonna ride it all.
Okay.
Tom, yeah. It was in that movie Cars. The guy made millions of dollars off of Disney. So, yeah, Tommy had a house in Austin for a while. I don't think he has it anymore, but he's a crazy golfer. So Tom and Gil, forget it. And Lifson likes to golf too. So sometimes the three of them, it's like the Three Stooges out there on the course. No, it's not.
They never try to get you out there?
They're good players. I'm not a golfer. No.
Rick, it has just been such a huge pleasure to sit here and chat with you for these few moments. Any last words for the people in San Antonio and around the world who will see this interview?
Well, I want to express my gratitude to the people of San Antonio over all the years, and the fact that I keep getting invited back to play gigs. Thanks for the paychecks. Thanks for the support, and thanks for getting it all started everywhere else. That's the biggest thing.
I had fans as I was announcing and promoting this interview, posting on Facebook, telling me to tell you to always come back to San Antonio.
Well, as long as somebody invites me, somebody that has just enough money to pay for the airfares, they write the check.
Canada's far away. Yeah, I gotta get you down here.
It's a long haul. Yeah.
Rick, thank you so much. Again, have a great show tonight at Siesta Fest. I know you're going to kick ass up there and play some of your new stuff and the classics, man. I can't wait to see it and see you on stage again. Keep on rocking. Remember, everyone out there, the brand new from the man is called Res 9. Be sure to pick it up, download it on iTunes. It kicks ass. Go to RIKEMMETT.com to get all the info. And I have to give a big thank you to Kathy Wagner for hooking me up with the man today. You saw Rik Emmett only on Rob's MetalWorks.